Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rise, Shine, and Grow. And today we have with us Chaya Rosensweig. And I met Chaya a couple weeks ago at a very cool event that we had with David Guillaume. And I kind of felt like I discovered David Guillaume, and I wasn't expecting anybody like from my circles at all to be there. And I met Chaya, and then a minute later, Chaya had him, or maybe it was before, Chaya had him on her podcast. And I was like, okay, I got to get to know this Chaya. I was impressed by her guest list. and so welcome, Chaya. Thank you so much for making the time today to be here.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So as I kind of went through your Instagram and got to know you a little bit, I saw a couple things that jumped out at me. So I liked the mix of a real estate entrepreneur and practical spirituality. And I would love for you to just talk a little bit about how you marry those two worlds.
For me, real estate was the beginning of my spiritual journey, because when you do real estate, you don't deal with houses or buildings, you deal with people, and you have to face so many challenges to grow in that field. So the first challenge that I had when I just started out as a real estate broker, I said to myself, it's either I'm going back to bed and just quitting, not getting up,
right?
Or I am taking a full responsibility and getting to know who I am, what I need to do. What does that mean to believe? Like, you know, you hear a lot about emunah and believing, and the real, thing is to actually deal with it.
Yeah, to be in it.
Right, to be in it. And I thought I'm a huge believer, and I thought my emunah is so strong.
Right.
But then challenges came my way, challenges I never experienced. When you're beginning to be an entrepreneur, you have challenges and you have really, really lessons that you have to go through. And then here comes the real challenge. Right. Are you really believing? Are you really walking, the talk?
Right. Are you walking the walk and talking the talk?
Exactly.
I think it's so powerful. Like, I think many people believe that there's two separate worlds. So there's the world of emunah and bitachon and faith, and then there's the world of work and business. And I think that you're saying it so well, which is that in business and in work is where you really get pushed to the test, especially if you're not getting a 9 to 5 clocking in paycheck, and especially if you can't rely on your boss and to come through for you
every day,
every minute.
Every minute is like really looking up and knowing you're just doing your part. And just believing, having this faith that everything will be okay and everything is good. And it's hard because sometimes you have challenges and you're telling yourself like, how this can't be good. Like, it's not good. But then you realize after a while, oh my God, thank God I had this. Thank God I met her. Thank God I did this. Like, so many things are adding up and making sense afterwards.
Yeah.
But you only realize it when you're facing it with inner work, spirituality, faith. And so for me, real estate was like the key.
Right.
That's why
it wasn't a contradiction at all. It actually led you right there.
Right. Yeah. That's why I discovered this world of spirituality and inner work.
Yeah.
Because I had to.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
You got pushed. So I think I'm curious to hear from you. Does it ever feel, because this is my experience sometimes, because I work on my bitachon, I work on my emunah, and I don't have a boss, and I work for myself, and I see the miracles all day, every day. Sometimes when you're so in it and you're so pushed up against the wall, you almost like feel like I'm just lying to myself all the time. I'm just faking that, not faking, but I'm just lying to myself. Do you ever notice that you get to that point of like, I'm just lying to myself, or it just becomes clear?
It's hard because if you ask me this question 2 years ago, probably the answer would be different, because I feel like every year I grow more and more. And as we grow, we develop more and we work on ourselves.
And we have more to look back on also.
But it's something that, happens a lot. And that's a work we need to do. There is no such a thing as a reality. Like, who says what's real and what's not?
Right.
We're so used to thinking that everything comes with tough work and it's not realistic, and you have to think straight, and you have to do this and you have to do, it doesn't make sense. Like, stop, when you learn about spirituality, you're realizing that everything makes sense in the same times. There's no right or wrong, or there's no, like, if you saying this makes sense for you, for me something else makes sense.
And so we are a little delusional. We are, right? Because that's how these things kind of work out.
But everything else is delusional as well. It's
correct.
Limits are, illusions. They're not real. And all the things that we have in our head, none of it is real.
Right. So we might as well stubbornly persist to illusion that we choose to
I will continue. And also realizing that all emotions are fine. Like, no one is going to tell you, oh, you have faith, so your life is going to be perfect from now on. No.
Right.
It's part of the journey.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's bad, by the way. When you have a challenge or something is difficult for you, it doesn't mean it's bad. So when you're like thinking about this from that perspective and you're like, oh, so it's all good.
Right.
It's all part of my journey. Then you're not frustrated so much. Right. Just like, okay, you let it just go. You go as, with the flow. You don't get, freak out when every little,
I heard from one of my teachers, he says, this is why it says, Kaveh el Hashem, chazak v'yametz lebecha, v'kaveh el Hashem. You got to hope, then you're going to lose hope, and then you got to strengthen your hope again. So like, that's part of the process, is that we get to this point where we're like, oh my God, we're giving up. It's clear right there that we have to, we're meant to get to that point where we feel hopeless and then push back up again.
But the minute I feel hopeless, this is my strongest.
Yeah, because you know that this is nothing left to do.
I just let go.
Yeah.
It's, for me, is very difficult to let go. That's my lesson. That's my, I feel like, tikkun in my life.
Yeah.
To really release all control. And my darkest moment is my strongest time, because I let go and then miracles happen.
Tell us about a time or a challenge where you felt like there was no more hope and this is never going to work out, and then something happened.
I'll be honest with you, it happens. It happens often. Because I'll tell you why. Every time I want more and more. Not in like materialistic way, but I want to develop. I'm here to develop, and I'm not a type of person who's just going to sit and like, okay, I achieved enough. No, for myself, I desire so many things.
Right.
And like David said in his conference, which I always say it, whatever you desire you back.
Right.
It's not for nothing.
Right.
I used to feel so ashamed for wanting such a big stuff and having such a big dreams, but I realized really, it's not like if I desired it, it means I need it.
It's there for a reason.
Me.
The desire's there for a reason. Right.
So every time you grow more and you develop, you have challenges. That's how it goes. You have to prepare your vessel. You have to, accept it.
Yeah.
So
give us even a small
but
thing.
I just need to like remember how I used to deal with it, and then it gives me like.
Okay, so before we go into specific challenges that felt hopeless and then evolved, tell us how your old mindset was, because it sounds like it really evolved, the way you used to think about money and desires, and now it changed a lot. So tell us how it used to be, how it is, and what changed it.
So I grew up to a divorced parents. Okay. I grew up with no money. Money was always very difficult, something that it's hard to achieve, it's hard to have, it's impossible. It doesn't belong to us. It's like
it's for other people.
Right.
Is it a bad thing? It's a bad thing, or just not to want it? It's for other people.
No, for us it wasn't bad, but it just like doesn't belong to us.
Right.
Like we don't have money.
Other people.
Right.
And
it was always a challenge. Like I remember as a kid, it was hard. I was like a part of a conversation that I probably shouldn't hear, and like I was in a survival mode, kind of. Money for me was scary. But I was always a dreamer. Always. I don't know even how to explain it, but as a kid, when the teacher was speaking, I was dreaming about buildings and flying and discovering the world and stuff that I wasn't even like, I don't know how I was aware of it, because I didn't have it. I wasn't good at school at all.
How were you aware of it? Was it from books? Was it from movies? Was it from friends?
So my father moved to America when I was 2 years old, and every year I used to visit him.
Okay.
So every time I came to New York, something opened up.
Right. It was like, wow,
so I guess
there's a world.
That was, right. So that was like the point where I was like, okay. I wasn't aware of it, but I guess
looking back, you could see that that's what expanded you and expanded 100%. Your mind.
Yeah. So I always a dreamer, and I always I remember even telling like on Shabbat table, one day I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have that. And everyone was looking at me like, oh my God.
Right, this kid is crazy.
She lives in the movie.
Like keep dreaming.
Yeah, keep dreaming. It's not going to happen. Like you're not even good at school. Like your marks are horrible. Like you're not going to be successful. Like stop it.
Right.
Everyone used to make fun. And I remember that time when everyone made fun, something about me became stronger.
You felt it.
Because I felt, okay, no one is going to be with me. No one's going to support me, but I have myself. Like something very deep that I have myself.
Is
It's
that
fine.
how you felt then, or looking back, that's how you like?
It made me
You were
be
aware
with myself
you were
more.
aware that I have to rely on myself. I
Yeah.
have to be strong.
Yeah. But that was also a trauma because it's very hard for me to let go, because
Right.
in my head, if I let go, then I lose everything.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm used to always
That
being
was the
there for
safety
myself and supporting
mechanism.
myself, and no one else was with me.
Right.
So for me, that was I think that's my tikkun, to
Right.
really let go.
Right. Right.
It's not all in you.
Right.
Like I always have this feeling, it's all on my shoulder. Like I carry so much.
Right.
And that's
So
what I'm
that's
working
right.
on.
The survival mechanism that kicked in was you can do anything and you don't need anybody, right?
Right.
And then after we go out of survival and into thriving, that's when you're able to surrender, right? And did you notice a shift? Like when did you start making that shift from survival mode to thriving? Like what age were you?
When I moved to America, we
Yeah.
moved from really nothing.
Yeah.
I was 20. I had a little baby. We were struggling in Israel a lot because, again, I didn't have a degree.
Right.
It wasn't for me to be, a 9-to-5 job and
Right.
having a boss. I tried.
Right.
They fired me after 2 weeks. I went through like 10 jobs.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. So obviously we didn't have money. And I told my husband, like, let's just move. You have a citizenship. I have a father in America. Let's just move. Like,
Right.
I can't be here anymore. Something about America like feels more open, more opportunities, and I want
Right.
to try it out. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
But we moved with literally no money.
Nothing.
We started out of a basement, no furniture. We used to sleep on the floor. We had a baby. It was very, very hard.
Wow.
And you have to survive. You have to really make it. And also in my mind, I'm not going through all of this for nothing or
Right.
to live like
Right.
a normal
Like
life.
now I
want it
have
all
to
in.
make it.
I have to make it.
Right.
There's no going back.
Right.
For me, I burnt everything behind,
Right.
and I didn't even tell anyone.
Right.
I was also, when I got married, I was like 17, almost 18.
Yeah.
Nobody supported me. Everyone's, you're going to get a divorce after a few months. Why are you doing this?
Wow.
That was the first time that I made a decision without asking people permission or taking advice. And it was the best decision I ever made, right? I'm married for 13 years. I have 3 kids. My husband is amazing. I wish everyone,
Were
the
your
relationship
parents
that we have.
at your wedding?
What?
Or did they come to the wedding? Did they? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So they supported.
No,
they
were
just
just
weren't
like
excited
laughing
about
at me.
it.
Okay,
Right.
she's a little kid. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All these comments.
Right.
And again, I went back to myself and I was like, I have myself, and that this is the right decision for me. And I'm owning it. I'm taking responsibility.
Right.
So that was the first time that I, again, listened to myself. And also with moving to America, everyone looked at us like, are you crazy? What are you doing? But then I did it. And again, it was the best decision we ever did because we grew so much. And also our relationship got much deeper and stronger.
He
because
also
we only
wanted
have
to
each
go.
other.
He wanted to move, or he was just like, whatever she says, we'll go along with it.
He kind of like went with the flow, but he was very open to it.
Yeah.
Very open. Also, he was struggling. It was hard. And it sounded like a better idea.
Right. So he went with it.
Right.
Right. Amazing.
But that was also a very, very strong point where I
felt it settling in, like I'm taking ownership of this, right? David talks a lot.
By the way, it was very hard.
He talks a lot about certainty, right? And when he talks about certainty, he talks about like certainty that the creator, God, is going to help us, right? But I think there's also this idea of certainty, which is that I will not fail. I am certain, right? That kind of certainty keeps us very much focused and directed. My certainty was
I could fail,
right?
But that's mine.
Yeah.
I will take ownership on that. I will not blame anyone.
Right.
I will take a full responsibility on that.
Right.
And that's something that really, really gives you the power to continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of people are, wanting other people to take the decision for them. And they're very afraid, and they want their husband to align with them, and they want, I didn't need that.
So I'm doing this. I'm clear.
I know what I need to do.
Right.
It's very clear to me that there's a journey to go through.
Right.
It's going to be hard, I know, but I'll own it. That's mine.
Right.
And I'll learn from it and I'll grow. That's the only way. I knew it's not going to be easy.
Right.
But then the other way is much, much harder. I will not stay in the same place.
Because the other way is stuck. The other way is just waiting, ticking the time.
Right.
Wow. So already at that young age, you had like a fierceness to you, right?
Yeah.
like this is what we're doing.
I had the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And it was very good. Like we started from scratch, from nothing. So now we appreciate everything. It was a long journey. And we really looked always about the lessons and to learn and to move on.
Yeah.
And one thing I always tell people, never get stuck in a situation. I could have been a victim so many times.
Right.
Well, he did this to me. She did
my
this
story,
to me. That's because of her.
Story.
I never went into a victim
right.
state of being. always took responsibility and moved on. Like I had a contractor who stole a lot of money from me. I could have sued him. I never did that. Whatever is meant to be mine will
No
be
one could
mine.
take
Whatever
from
I
you.
need to
Right.
make, I will make. My responsibility, my part
Yeah.
is to always move on.
Right. To
People
take
get
the lesson
stuck.
and then move on. Right. To
Right.
take the lesson or the
learn,
memo and move on.
And
Right.
also take responsibility for
Right.
sure.
Right.
But don't get stuck on like a victim mindset, because you will not get anywhere good
Right.
with this mindset.
Right. Right.
So,
right. Meaning, do you want to be right or do you want to keep going? Because you could say you'll be right. My mother
and again,
and
what
my
is
father
right?
and my
Who
this.
says you're right?
Right. Well, in your experience,
Right.
right? Meaning you have your excuse, right? You have your excuse.
That's what I'm saying.
But
my
now it's
thing
your
is
life.
to be right.
Right.
I own my life and I will do everything I can to move on always
Right.
and reach people. That's if you could see all the big names. They're moving on.
Yeah.
They're moving on. They don't get stuck.
Right.
They never blame. They never get into like this victim,
Right.
mood.
Right.
They're just moving on.
I say this to my son because he's a dreamer. He's going to be one day like that. And, right.
Wow.
When little petty things, right. Harness that future self that, this guy, a couple $100 or this annoyance or this frustration. You could sit in it and you could hold resentment, or it could not even be
it's
a blip.
really noise, by the way.
It could be a blip on your radar.
Noises, right?
It could be a blip on your radar, like a swatting a fly.
Right.
So when you're there, right, when you've made the millions, and this would be a flick on the radar or a small inconvenience,
but how you
or
become,
an annoyance.
But how you become like that from being really aware.
Yeah.
I noticed so many people that actually read books and podcasts and going to this webinar and this one, and they're really like going to therapy, but they don't do the work.
Right.
You have to do the work. You have in real time, you have to like get into this higher perspective and see the situation from really like understanding the long term of it.
Right.
Like don't look to like just.
I think a lot of the healing modalities that are out there are missing the integrative piece.
Right.
So we sit there in this healing and this healing and this healing without kind of moving out of it and moving forward, because it doesn't have that piece. It's kind of like, okay, you want to talk every week about this? We'll just do that forever, right? So people get stuck in talk therapy, or they get stuck going like, to try every psychedelic and every retreat, and I lead retreats. It's not that I'm against it. It's that if there's no integration, if there's no integration, meaning how does this change how I react to my husband, or how I react to my boss, or how I react towards failure, or how I show up as a man or a woman, then what are we doing?
Don't tell me you healed and you're doing a healing job and you're going to therapy, and then when something happens to you, you blame and you're being a victim and you're stuck in the situation and you're holding, bad emotions into your heart, and you talk bad, and this is not awareness.
Right.
This is not.
It always all healing and also all trauma